I guess we'll just call the show the Remotely Show.
Tim, remotely?
Yeah, it fits. The Remotely Show. We tried producing weekly, but with the challenges we faced, and then we had spring break. So creating once a week just wasn't going to happen. And we're doing it remotely, so I'm naming the show aptly titled The Remotely Show.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks for the clarification, Tim. Anyway, it's been a couple of weeks since our last show, and we hope everyone had a nice spring break, enjoyed your holidays, and found some time to relax.
And just like that, we say so long to the month of April, and we usher in the month of May. We have a busy show with several video segments, and we also share a few announcements. Ashra?
Okay, getting started. Seniors, reminder that many scholarship opportunities/applications are still available. Scholarship applications are posted online and are linked in Naviance through Scholarship List. Click Scholarship link to access full listing of scholarship opportunities, applications, and deadlines.
Seniors, let's go!
Okay, all right, Tim. Here's another announcement from the KHS Guidance Department. Access daily updates from KHS Guidance about mindfulness and stress reduction resources, college planning and exploration, including upcoming virtual college fair, college entrance and AP testing, scholarship resources, and 2020 to 2021 scheduling. Tim?
Moving things along, the Kinnelon School District has once again been awarded as a Best Community for Education for the 2020 school year. This honor now marks 8 years in a row. Congrats is extended to the music faculty, Mrs. Hendricks, Mr. Stroud, and Ms. Linnell, as well as the students, parents, district administration, Board of Education, and community members for supporting the music arts. Nice job, all. Up next, producers Trey McDonald and Aiden Nello caught up with Mayor Jim Frieda. With more, we'll be right back.
All in this together, and the pandemic has presented new challenges for all. How has borough leadership helped during the pandemic?
Well, we started out with a campaign that said Kinnelon Cares, which I don't know if you've seen the signs around town, but the signs around town says Kinnelon Cares, thank you to community workers and healthcare workers. And we wanted people to know that we are serious and making sure they know that they're appreciated. As far as our police departments and first aid squads and fire departments, we make sure they have the right tools to go into a house that might have the coronavirus and that they're safe. So we make sure they have the proper equipment, meaning masks, suits, eyewear, etc., to make sure that they're safe.
The city has issued social distance and lockdown guidelines. As mayor and along with town council, is there anything else that Kinnelon has implemented or enforced beyond the state measures?
Well, we did the same thing that the state and the county has done. We closed down our parks, we closed down our school systems, we closed down Borough Hall. We moved our DPW employees to, we split them in half and made half of the guys work 1 week and then take the next week off. And also our police department is working 4 days on as a police officer and then 8 days off. So we're making sure that they stay safe for not just for their job, but also for their families.
As you work towards getting through the pandemic, what are a few tips that you can lend to the community about remaining positive?
Well, like I said, our slogan here in Kinnelon throughout this is Kinnelon Cares. So to get through this, we just need to know that this is a marathon, not a sprint. So you have to make sure you're constantly checking on your neighbors, constantly staying in touch with your friends and making sure that they're okay. So again, Kinnelon Cares, we make sure that everyone around us in our community is taken care of, and we make sure you keep checking on them.
There are many moving parts throughout all of this. With lots of people involved, please take a moment to provide a few comments on all of the efforts that Superintendent Diane DiGiuseppe and Kinnelon Public School District, Chief KPD, and Volunteer KFD/EMT.
Well, I would give them all compliments because this is the first time we've ever gone through a pandemic in this country. So for Mrs. DiGiuseppe to be able to, within a short period of time, get all the teachers on board and get all of the online work that you guys have been doing and pulling it all together and make it work is amazing. And I say the same thing with our police department and our fire department and everyone else. Just the fact that it came on so fast and they educated themselves to know what to do when you walk into certain situations and how to handle certain situations. So all I can say is everybody just did an amazing job getting something just to us as fast as it came, and they were able to handle the situation.
Have any other thanks or acknowledgments that you would like to share?
My acknowledgments would be the town itself. Everybody is doing an amazing job, sticking to the rules, making sure we're social distancing and washing our hands and just really taking care of our neighbors. So great job, stay safe. Remember, as I've said before, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Keep doing what you're doing, it's working. So that's who I have to say thank you to, is you guys.
Very informative. Thanks to Mayor Frieda and Trey and Aiden for the video segment. Astrid?
Our next announcement comes to us from the Foreign Language Department. Congrats is extended to Mr. Danielson and all of the Latin students that were awarded honors on the National Latin Exam. Congrats is also extended to Madame Adams and the French course student Emily Petroselli. She recently committed to Columbia University, where she has been accepted in a 2-year dual BA program with Sciences Po, a prestigious French university, starting this upcoming fall. Awesome job, Emily. Tim?
In other school news, recently producers Jason Millis and Jen Jacko caught up with art teacher Mrs. Kivlon and English teacher Mr. Penola. They collaborated on a children's book. With more, here's their report.
Well, I've been working on the illustrations and the book for 3 years. It was actually a different story. And then this writer, Joanna Malloy, she's actually an author. She saw my work, a different work. Some of my flower photography was exhibited in Brooklyn a 1.5 years ago, and she loved my work, and we've been corresponding since. And it came with the thought that she wanted to rewrite, or we talked about rewriting the book for the current times. But the problem was they print everything overseas. And they said, we just have no idea of knowing when we're going to be able to print any books. So we decided jointly that why don't we just put it on YouTube for children, for now. But then I remembered and I thought of Mr. Penola and how wonderful he is, both at writing. I recalled that he does music and he composes himself. So I reached out to him and said, would you be willing to work on this? And he said, yes. And he was so professional. I did this beautiful music and the writer loved it and just fit so perfect. This is a real life situation. So we have, we've done media from what I teach in digital imaging, right? The illustrations, music, writing, Mr. Penola, and then Mr. deWaal's class. This has gone through 4 different subjects that we teach at the high school, and then directly involving 3 of the teachers. Definitely to offer calmness, to eliminate or relieve any anxiety, and to offer hope. And I think Mr. Penola, when he jumped in, his music just really added to that level too of hope. He can better describe his music, but how it starts off very calmly and then it ends up being very hopeful with his beat in the music. It's not only for the children, but for all our first responders and everyone, really who's putting their lives at risk. My daughter is an ICU nurse in California, so she's on the front line. So I would say dedicated, to all children, our students, and even my daughter, and all other first responders and nurses and doctors.
Came pretty late. Ms. Kivlon already had the story done. She'd actually put the video together with the images, and she sent me a copy of the video with some temp music in there. I think some royalty-free, just kind of like guitar loops going on. So she wanted to see if she could get something specifically built for the project, or wanted to see what I could come up with, kind of being inspired by the images in the story. So just a few days before it actually went live, I got an email seeing if I wanted to take a pass at it. Sat down one night, and here we are. Came from really the story itself. I mean, I'm going to take you on a tour for a second. If you look over there, that's actually one of Ms. Kivlon's images. It's actually featured in the storybook. I've loved her artwork for such a long time, and I've actually written a lot of poetry inspired by her work. So I've always found her surreal, creative, imaginative visuals just really, really inspiring. So having the added layer of the story, which is, kind of, it's dark, it's somber, especially at the beginning, but it kind of ends up in this place of hope. I kind of wanted to create a musical narrative that fit that, kind of starting a little bit darker before lightening up, becoming more hopeful. And also the fact that it's written in rhyme, it's for children. I wanted to incorporate a lot of kind of like lullaby or kind of like bedtime story feel to the music. So just very, very repetitive, quiet, slow, simple. Doing compositions, instrumentals for movies or things like this. I'm very heavily inspired by the work that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross do. They did the Social Network soundtrack, which has some really beautiful piano themes. Did the stuff for Gone Girl, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. A lot of just wonderful, moody pieces that I try to emulate to the best that I can. I often just write late at night, and I think that on that day, I probably started around 10 or 11, and then I had a rough draft probably by midnight or around then. So it came together pretty quick. I don't think it took more than 2 hours tops.
Wow, this is awesome. What a great initiative and a wonderful example of how our Kinnelon teachers continue to strive and push and challenge themselves professionally. It is a privilege to have them as instructors at KHS. Tim?
The following is a big reminder for seniors and parents of seniors. The baccalaureate is approaching. Advisor Miss Pollock needs photos of then and now. Example, ballot recitals, Little League games, class trips, dances, birthday parties, Halloween, etc. Group photos of friends at all ages as they grew through their school years. Please send your photos to baccalaureatephotos@kinnelon.org.
And the deadline for the baccalaureate photo submission is May 17th, but please send your pictures as soon as possible. Please understand that in order to have adequate time to compile and create this montage, we absolutely cannot accept photos after that deadline. Tim?
Up next, producers Tino DiToronto and Emmanuel Savino provide this Cam on the Street, Social Distance Edition. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, I'm Tino DiToronto, and me and my partner Emmanuel Savino did a Cam on the Street.
On everyone's favorite things to do during quarantine. Let's get into the video.
My favorite quarantine snack is goldfish because it fills me up pretty quickly.
I'd say my favorite quarantine snack is going to be pretzels. Super addicting.
My go-to quarantine snack is probably cereal or peanut butter and jelly because you can eat it any time of the day.
Favorite snack? Those brownie things with the sprinkles. I don't have them, but I don't know anyone who doesn't like them.
My favorite quarantine snack is guac because it's so easy to make.
My go-to snack during quarantine would probably be trail mix because it's already made for me.
My go-to binge show is probably either Vampire Diaries or Gossip Girl.
My favorite binge show has been All American.
Right now, I'd have to say Outer Banks.
My go-to show during quarantine would have to be All American and Grey's Anatomy.
My go-to binge show is definitely Tiger King.
My go-to show on Netflix has been The Office.
The best way to keep in touch with your friends is through like Zoom or FaceTime, so you can still see them and talk to them like it's live.
Yeah, anything. Snapchat, TikTok.
The best way to communicate during quarantine is FaceTime because you actually get to see the person.
I'd say the best way to communicate is big group FaceTime.
I'd say my favorite quarantine exercise is beating Jake here one-on-one.
My favorite quarantine exercise is probably going biking with my family.
Favorite exercise in quarantine has been hiking because I like to be outside.
Favorite exercise or activity is probably just like going for a run.
My favorite quarantine activity would probably be sitting around the fire pit every weekend with my family when it's nice out.
Once this pandemic's over, I'm going to chill with the boys.
Yeah, hang out with the boys, hang out with my friends.
Once this pandemic is over, I'm probably gonna go to Pompton Queen or GNA with my friends.
This pandemic's over, I'm gonna go to the beach or something.
My go-to video game's been NBA 2K20.
Yeah, same. 2K.
Favorite video game? I gotta go with Minecraft. All the boys have been ripping that pretty hard lately, so.
I don't really play a lot of video games, but probably Subway Surfers.
Thanks, guys, for the video. Okay, our last segment is with KHS Athletic Director Mr. Rosenberg. Producer Justin Lockwood provides this video report. Let's check it out.
What's up, KHS? I got to catch up with our athletic director, Mr. Rosenberg, to talk about high school athletics amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's take a look.
That one was mine. I was just trying to think about how we can honor our seniors, and luckily a lot of my colleagues have sort of picked up on that as well, and they like the idea. So I asked coaches for 4 adjectives to describe you guys. Some of you were excited about that, some of you were not, but it turned out pretty well. Just miss being around you guys and being at games. Truthfully, it's kind of in my DNA. It's always been in my DNA. That's what I always try and think about with high school sports is, 1, it's education based, so we try and keep the learning part of it, and 2, it's just kind of the pride in your school, the pride in your community, the idea of your friends being able to come watch you play, the idea of being able to walk around the hallway the next day after pitching a good game or hitting a home run or something, and kind of getting high fives and people saying nice job, your teachers, your friends. So I just miss that whole aspect of it. Just worry about what that does to roster spots and things like that. For the bigger schools, not so much us, because overall, like, we're hurting for numbers across the board. So if that meant providing more of a full, complete roster for teams, I kind of like it. But I also worry about those underclassmen not getting the spots that they thought they would have. That can hurt them down the line as well. And then I do like the idea of kids maybe going to county college for a year or 2 to save their parents money. We just made the decision to cancel the county tournaments. But the reason why we did that is because we've also talked to our own conference, and we've decided that we're going to put an emphasis on conference games if we can play them. I think the thought process there is simply, why play a tournament where it's a one and done situation, where we may be able to play guaranteed scheduled sort of games, conference games. We've thought about, and we still may, do things like a senior all-star game, things like that for the county tournaments or for the county association to try and put something together. But I think most importantly, from our perspective, like, let's get just the division games in. The latest guidelines, they did make some changes, and they actually eased the GPA requirements for Division I and Division II. So I think, again, everybody honestly is looking out for you guys and high school seniors' best interest. We're all a little bit scared, worried. Again, I think that we're of the mindset that we just want kids to be able to play, get their senior years in, and get people moving again. So whatever that looks like, we'll adjust on the fly. It's a societal problem at this point. We've placed so much emphasis on sports, and a lot of it I agree with, some of it I don't, but it's such a part of our culture that to lose these things is really hard on people.
Thanks, Justin, for the video. And it's awesome that Mr. Rosenberg has acknowledged all of the senior student athletes on the KHS Sports Twitter account. And although it's unprecedented, we acknowledge and support all of our athletes, coaches, and teams.
Well, Tim, that wraps up this edition of KHS Remotely. There are maybe 1 or 2 shows remaining this year, but this is probably the last show for Block B. It's crazy how fast the year goes. Tim, it's been fun, and thanks everyone all year.
Agreed, Astrid. Also, we want to give another shout out to crew member and senior Justin Lockwood. Thanks, man.
So for my co-host Asher Gelfand, our entire crew, I'm Tim Hauser saying see you next time. Work hard, be kind.
Peace everyone.
Peace everyone.